My name is Ava, and I was 18 when my mom asked me to give most of my scholarship money to my older sister. At first, I thought she meant a small amount. I had just received about $750 from a scholarship, and to me, that money felt huge. It was the first time I had money that came from something I had worked for myself. I was proud of it. I had plans for it too. I was getting ready for college, and even though $750 would not cover everything, it could still help with books, supplies, transportation, or one of the many expenses I knew were coming. Around the same time, my mom took me to open my first bank account. I remember feeling excited sitting there because it felt like one of those small moments that made adulthood suddenly seem real. My name was on the account. My scholarship money would go there. I was finally starting to manage something that belonged to me. Then, while we were talking about the money, my mom brought up my sister. My sister, Melissa, was 25. Mom told me Melissa was dealing with expenses connected to her citizenship application and asked whether I could help her. The way she said it made it sound simple. Your sister needs help. You have some money. Family helps family. I did not immediately say no. Actually, I said I would probably be willing to lend her something. Melissa was my sister. I knew applications, paperwork, fees, and adult responsibilities could get expensive. I thought maybe she needed $100, maybe a little more, and I did not want to be selfish when I had just received money I was fortunate to have. So when my mom first asked, I was open to helping. That is important, because later my family made it sound like I had agreed to something very different. A few days later, I talked to Melissa directly. That was when I found out how much she actually wanted. $600. Out of the roughly $750 I had received. I remember doing the math in my head more than once because I thought I had misunderstood her. $600 would leave me with almost nothing. I asked her if she really meant 600. She did. I told her I had not realized she needed that much. Melissa said it was important and reminded me that this was something connected to her future. I understood that. But I also had a future. I was 18. I was preparing for college. I did not have a full-time career or years of savings behind me. That scholarship was not extra spending money to me. It was one of the first financial steps I had earned toward the life I was trying to build. I went back and forth in my head. Part of me felt guilty, even thinking about saying no. My mom had framed it as helping my sister, and Melissa clearly expected that I would do it. I started wondering whether I was being immature for caring so much about a few $100s. Then Melissa said something else. And that was the moment the entire situation changed for me. We were talking about money and plans when she casually mentioned something she wanted to do in the future. She said that after her citizenship situation was handled, she wanted to get a car. That part was normal. Then she said she wanted the car to be in my name. But it would be her car. I stopped. I asked what she meant. She explained it almost like it was no big deal. The car would be for her to use, but she wanted it under my name. I was 18. I had just opened my first bank account. I had only recently received my first scholarship money. And suddenly, I was hearing that my sister did not just want $600 from me. She was already imagining another financial arrangement involving my name. That was when I started looking at the original request differently. Before I tell you what I decided, tell me in the comments. If you were 18, had just received your first scholarship, and your family asked you to give most of it to an older sibling, would you help, or would you protect the money for your own future? I did not tell Melissa yes to the car. I did not tell her maybe. I told her I was not comfortable with that. The conversation became awkward quickly. From Melissa's point of view, I think she saw me as someone younger who had money available and could help solve a problem. From my point of view, I had started with one request. Then the request became almost my entire scholarship. Then another plan appeared involving my name. I started asking myself a question I had not asked at the beginning. If I said yes now, what exactly was I agreeing to next? I knew I could not predict the future. Maybe nothing bad would ever happen with the car. Maybe she believed everything would work perfectly. But I also knew I did not understand enough about car ownership, payments, insurance, responsibility, or what being the person named on something could mean. And that uncertainty was enough. I did not need to prove that something terrible would happen before I was allowed to say no. I just needed to know that I was not comfortable. The more I thought about the scholarship money, the more uncomfortable I became with that too. When my mom had first asked me to help Melissa, I thought I was agreeing to a small loan. I had never agreed to hand over $600. There is a big difference between saying, "I can help," and saying, "You can take almost everything I have." But because I had been open to helping at first, I worried that backing out would make me look dishonest. I kept replaying that part in my head. Had I promised? Had I led my sister on? Was I being unfair by changing my mind after learning the amount? Eventually, I realized something simple. You are allowed to change your answer when the question changes. The question I thought I was answering was, "Can you help your sister a little?" The actual question became, "Will you give your sister most of your scholarship money?" And then another question appeared. "Will you let your sister put something else in your name later?" Those were not the same questions. So I told Melissa I was no longer comfortable giving her the $600. I did not scream. I did not insult her. I did not accuse her of trying to ruin my life. I simply told her that I needed the scholarship money for myself and that I was not comfortable with the plans she had mentioned. She was not happy. I could tell she felt like I was backing away from something she believed had already been agreed. And I understood why she was disappointed. But disappointment did not automatically make my decision wrong. That was one of the hardest things for me to accept at 18. When you grow up hearing that family should help family, saying no can feel like you are doing something cruel, even when you are only protecting a reasonable boundary. I had to remind myself that Melissa was 7 years older than me. I was not a parent responsible for fixing her expenses. I was her younger sister trying to start college. My scholarship did not become family money just because it landed in my account. And my name did not become something other people could plan around just because I was young. I still cared about Melissa. That never changed. I wanted her citizenship application to work out. I wanted her to be able to buy a car someday. I wanted good things for her. But wanting good things for someone does not mean you have to finance them. And it definitely does not mean you have to put your name on something you do not understand or control. Looking back, the part that bothered me most was not even the $600. It was how quickly the situation expanded. I had received $750. Mom asked if I could help. I thought about lending a little. Melissa wanted almost all of it. Then she was already talking about a future car in my name. That progression taught me something before I had even started college. Sometimes the first boundary is not really about the first request. Sometimes it is about whether people learn that your answer can be pushed. If I had given away almost all of the scholarship because I felt guilty, I think I would have taught myself that other people's urgency mattered more than my plans. If I had agreed to put a car in my name just because my sister wanted it, I would have taught myself that being younger meant I was not allowed to question what older family members asked of me. I did not want to learn either lesson. So I kept the scholarship money. I kept my name out of the car plan. And I accepted that Melissa might be upset with me for a while. I would rather have my sister disappointed by an honest no than have myself trapped inside a yes I never truly wanted to give. The scholarship was not millions of dollars. It was not enough to change my entire life. But the decision around it did change something in me. It was one of the first times I understood that being generous and having boundaries are not opposites. You can love your family and still say no. You can want to help someone and still ask how much. You can change your mind when new information changes the situation. And if someone wants to use your money or your name, you are allowed to understand exactly what that means before you agree. At 18, that was probably worth more to me than the scholarship itself.